Imagine being a small child living in the far north, somewhere in Finland during the 18th century. You spend your winter mostly inside the smoky cabin with the rest of your family. Your elderly grandfather is no longer able to do farm work like rest of the men, because father time has made his body too frail, but he still works indoors with his woodwork like all the other men during wintertime. He is making himself a walking cane to aid him moving around. You notice that on the top of the cane there's a man making a grotesque face. He explains it to you that it is the father time himself, mocking the mere mortals whose health declined by time. But there are more interesting details in this cane. It is full of scribbled runes that nobody is reading anymore, but the pictures you can recognize. Your grandfather explained that the walking cane works as a calendar, and all those smaller scribbled lines are runes where a man of his age can still read and tell from them what day it is. You will never learn to read or write in runes, since the Latin alphabets are quite common already. In the Protestant North, you must learn to read the Bible if you want to get married someday. So there won't be any time to fool around with all the calendars containing rune markings. That is why there is such clear pictures in this one, so we can explain the progress of the coming year with them instead of the runes. They all symbolize important Christian name days in the calendar. The year starts with some symbols of the horn that you can connect to the end of Christmas. January 13 is name day for Newt, and that is when the Christmas piece ends. Young men dress up as goat, called Nuutti, and travel from house to house and demand some beer for a drink. It is an odd custom, and you really don't understand what does it have to do with the Saint Newt. But I guess most of people around you have no understanding either. What does this ritual mean during this day? They just enjoy the dress-up game and drinking, of course. The images following the horns are a little bit more bizarre to you, since you haven't had your Christian education yet. But those are some dead saints, their holy remains, and the weapons in which these acts were committed with. There is also a stool to remind that it is time for a January court, and various legal cases are represented and processed during this court day. Then the month changes to February with this circle marking, and we get more Christian symbols again. 2nd of February is the day for the Candlemas, of course, and that's why there are candles. It is one of those few days when candles are being burned inside a peasant house. Most of the candles that are made in the house are used to pay taxes for the local aristocrats or the crown. Peasants don't use candles as a light source. Then there is the picture of pliers that marks the 9th of February. It is very ominous to you. That is the Saint Apollonius Day, and you pray for good dental health from Saint Apollonius. You have seen the process of removing teeth before in your family, and it strikes fear in you. The father time can't wait until it is your time to face this inevitable experience of losing teeth. At the end of February, there is important name day of Matthew, represented with axe and fish. During the Catholic times, it was a starting time for great feast that still affected the local food culture in North, even though it had been reformed to Protestant for centuries ago. But Matthew's Day was also of great importance for peasants because it is connected to many pagan rituals also. It was the first day of the spring, and persons' actions were very important indicators for what was to come in the coming year. So it was a day for forecasting and taking notice of the environment. Now I'm going to show you in the slideshow the following months, and you can take a guess yourself what those symbols might represent. Notice the dragon symbol, and June starting with the Ouroboros symbol, that is the snake eating itself. This old man could read runes and make illustrations like these. Quite amazing, isn't it? And if we were the small child looking at this finished piece of work, we might understand it better because the symbols are so connected to seasonal life and the world was very much smaller place than it is today. Timekeeping has always been important for the common peasant who has been illiterate and uneducated in the eyes of upper class. But this kind of intrigue and skill to make calendars and the ability to read runes has been existing with the common people quite longer than we could guess. A farmer has always lived by his almanac, and in the oral storytelling, different proverbs guide him to harvest and plant in the right time. Calendar is basically the only education that one receives from his household along the various skills in agriculture, hunting, and so forth. So think of this rod as a school book, the only book you will receive to guide you in your life. This specific rod is from 18th century Finland, and it is a runic calendar in its later form. Earlier examples of runic calendars from Finland are not this illustrated and contain more archaic symbols like swastikas, loop squares, and other mysterious symbols instead of these clear pictures. They were spread by Catholic missionaries who required calendars to mark their holidays, and as we know from the history, they sometimes used this timekeeping as a tool to convert local population. They combined their festivities together with the pagan ones in order to make the transition period a little bit more smoother. There is quite clear example of this from Finland also. When we look at different customs, rituals, and spells that are attached to these Christian name days, then they are obviously remains of an older pagan belief system. There is, for example, custom to slaughter a lamb or goat without shearing it on Michael's Day. So basically, give the wool as a sacrifice. But what does it have to do with the Archangel Michael? Nothing, but it is obviously connected to the harvest festival of September, when people sacrificed and worshipped god of livestock called Kekri. Michael's Day just happened to be in September. The Catholic Church didn't mind how these belief systems were intertwined together, and if you take a closer look in Catholicism, you understand why there was this reformation and how many different pagan concepts actually live in Catholic culture. But things and their original meaning get lost in time, and I think if you look at these runic calendars from Finland, we can see how much the start of the year has changed in just 200 years. I have marked in all three of them the start of the year. The upper one is the oldest one found in Finland, that is from the 16th century. Runes have not changed, but the symbol to represent the new year is. For the 18th century, it was this weird goat of Saint Knut, but before that we get a clear symbol for the world tree with this Tyrek-like rune. In Finland, January is called Tammikuu, meaning the month of the oak. And what is this oak? It is the world tree that separates the spiritual and material world. That is why there is this tree-looking symbol at the start of the year. But even if this symbol was lost from the runic calendars by the time of 18th century, in the oral storytelling, there is still this great superstition connected to the start of the year. You could forecast the weather, personal destiny in various ways. It was a great time of anticipation. People have spent the winter in very close quarters, and all actions and movements are neurotically observed. And these observations turn into customs and spell rituals to repeat the successful years of luck for all the members in the house. Now, that is quite a lot to take, but timekeeping has always had religious roots in human societies. Instead of confusing you more with these weird concepts that lurk behind these Christian name days, I would like to end it in a philosophical note and take these excellent lines from the book of Ecclesiastes and read it for all who feel that the Father Time is mocking them. There is time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to uproot, a time to kill and time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and time to laugh, a time to mourn and time to dance, a time to scatter stones and time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and time to give up, and time to keep and time to throw away, a time to tear and time to mend, a time to be silent and time to speak, a time to love and time to hate, a time for war and time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race. He has made everything beautiful in His time. He has also set the eternity in human heart. Yet, no one can fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live, that each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it, and nothing can be taken from it. God does it so that people will fear Him. Whatever it has already been, and what will be has been before, and God will call the past to account. And I saw something else under the sun. In the place of justice, wickedness was there. I said to myself, God will bring into judgment both the righteous and the wicked, and there will be time for every activity, a time to judge every deed. I also said to myself, as for humans, God tests them so that they may see that they are like the animals. Surely the fate of human being is like that of all animals. The same fate awaits them both. As one dies, so dies the other. All have the same breath. Humans have no advantage over animals. Everything is meaningless. All go to the same place. All come from dust, and the dust all return. Who knows if the human spirit rises upward, and if the spirit of the animal goes down into the earth? So I saw there is nothing better for a person than to enjoy their work, because that is their lot. For who can bring them to see what will happen after them?